Hello, everyone. This is your Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, June 20th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys are doing great. Good to be here with all of you. I'm feeling decent. I'm getting there. My reading sale is going to be over on Friday, so there's 2 slots left if you want to book a reading. The link to my booking website is in the description of this video. All my social media platforms, all that good stuff. I would jump on that right away if you want to join me. So I think today is going to be pretty illusion shattering with this sun making its square to Neptune at 29 degrees. This is the first time we've had a sun square Neptune at the last degree of Pisces, with Neptune in its ruling sign. So, and this is the last day of Gemini season. So the sun in Gemini is leaving Gemini here and moving into Cancer, feeling like, okay, we've gone through so much this year already, and now this is the moment where the spell starts to dissolve, right? So things that were built on things that were not actually physical or real or practical, or things that were based on falsehood or anything that was misleading, right? That wasn't based in truth or fact. This is the moment where those things start to dissolve, and that non-reality starts to reveal itself. So when this sun squares Neptune, this is going to be early afternoon, late morning on the West Coast. So we could feel, a little confused today. There could be a lot of confusion going around, We don't want to lose our shit today. We don't want to go off the fucking deep end. We don't want to be drowning in emotional, chaotic, blah, 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 right? This is been quite an interesting build-up towards it. I mean, we saw the whole Justin Timberlake thing. He got arrested with a DWI. Like, this is sun square Neptune. That is as Neptune as it gets, right? So, we don't want to be falling off the cliff, trying to escape reality or go into altered states. That's really just going to take us down and pull us into a fucking nightmare, right? Because with Neptune, sometimes you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. You can feel and trust that you're on the right path, but when the sun squares Neptune, it reveals where you haven't been so clear or so honest, or where things in your reality or your daily life, or with the sun in Gemini, your environment, have not been taken care of, or you've let things go, or you let yourself go, right? And you haven't had that upkeep. So, and this Mercury is starting to sextile Mars, and it will start, that will begin today. So it is, finding a more secure path to having a more secure environment. Because Cancer, it is about security. With Mercury, it's all about our environment. But also with Mars and Mercury making the sextile to Mars, like, this is a great day to just kind of get out. If you're feeling a little wonky, or you're feeling that circus kind of energy with this sun square Neptune, it's a good day to kind of get out, take a short trip, maybe go, it don't go, it doesn't mean fucking get on a plane and go fucking to some foreign country, right? With the sun square Neptune, right? This is where we kind of want to stay local. But taking a little time for yourself with this Mars, Mercury sextile, take a short trip, get the fuck out of the city. If you live in a city, go see something new, go experience something different. It can be very healing, and can also pull you out of that kind of neuroticism that the sun square Neptune can bring on. So I went in with this moon in Sag today too. The moon's in Sag. So it's like trying to find freedom within the chaos. this sun is not going to, or this moon is not going to oppose the sun in Gemini here, because this is like, we're less than a whole sign away from this full moon. So by the time you get to Friday, we're going to have this Capricorn full moon, which is going to be very wild. But I will say, what's interesting about this Sun in Gemini squaring this Neptune at 29, right before this full moon, by tomorrow, this moon in Sag is going to square Neptune. So the Sun and the moon are going to square Neptune before this full moon in Capricorn hits fully. So it is, like, when it comes to fact and truth, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be revealed and illusions that are just going to be blown the fuck out. Anything that's not based on truth, facts, natural law, universal law, getting into these spaces where we want to think we are in control of the fucking universe, right? It's going to backfire, And for some of you, you may be on the other side of like witnessing other people's exposure of whatever kind of insanity or chaos or BS or deception. You may be witnessing that, or you may be the kind of, maybe you're the Sun in Gemini, like bringing the facts. Maybe you're the moon in Sag, bringing the fucking truth here, to whatever Neptunian challenge that we're going to be going through here over the next day before this full moon. But it's like, it's kind of nice to think about, okay, like we get to go through this illusion shattering moment before this Capricorn full moon where the reality starts to set in. Okay, so this full moon being Saturn ruled, this is when our reality starts to become more visible. And I think I said yesterday, it's like, that's like when Neptune goes retrograde, right? The Neptunian rose-colored glasses, fantasy, psychedelic, spiritual frequency starts to dim as Neptune goes retrograde. And then it's like, oh, this is what's actually right in front of me. This is the actual truth. This is like, you get the fucking, sometimes you go out to a fucking party, go to a party, you get a little drunk, and, you'll just take anything home, right? And you don't even know what the fuck you're taking home or who, right? And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, this is the kind of energy. And then the full moon in Capricorn comes and it's like, well, this is who you really are. This is who they really are. This is how the world really truly is. This is the limitations. This is the boundaries. You can't just fall out of reality just to, lose your mind for a second and think that, those decisions are always going to lead to a good outcome. With Sun square Neptune, it's like the outcomes can be very difficult and very challenging to find a good, it can be difficult to find a more positive outcome. But I think the positive outcome with this challenge here, with this Neptunian challenge, is going to come through these full moon cycles, because we're going to have 2 full moons in Capricorn, which are Saturn ruled. So it is like over this next month, going into Cancer season, yes, it's all about security and reality. How can we be more secure in our reality? And I think this Neptune square from the Sun and the moon here before this full moon is really going to bring some facts and some truth into our lives that maybe for some people it could be hard to swallow, especially if you're in the more Neptunian side of things. So if you're not being realistic or you're being impractical, it's going to be a challenge, right? But I think finding solutions and being able to communicate on an emotional level and on a practical level with this Mercury sextile Mars, can really help us find solutions and really open the doors to understand each other, but at the same time, letting our emotions dictate our thoughts, or letting our emotions swallow our thoughts with this Mercury in Cancer. Because Mercury in Cancer, it's like every form of communication and expression is like very emotional. It's very deep. It's very intense. Sometimes it's hard to handle the emotions and the thoughts become overwhelming with Mercury in Cancer, and it leads to some emotional kind of disruption or eruption. But Mars is supporting Mercury here, helping ground these emotions through this fucking Neptune chaos here. This is like a circus. When the sun in Gemini is already a fucking circus. It's crazy. I was born in 1981. I just found this out yesterday. It was crazy. This probably sounds so stupid, but I don't care. I thought it was cool. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the Batman Forever movie with Val Kilmer that came out in 95. 95 was when Saturn was in Pisces, okay? It was the 16th of June where when that movie came out. It was June 16th, 1995. Saturn was at 24 degrees of Pisces. So that movie came out the last time, right? And it was the sun. I think I saw the chart. It was Sun square Saturn. I think Venus and Gemini squaring Mars and Virgo. There was all these mutable squares when that movie came out. And I fucking love that movie. But that movie is like, it's like a fucking psychedelic Batman circus. If you want to like kind of get a vibe for what this energy, like go watch that movie. A lot of people said they didn't like that movie. It was like, oh, that was the worst Batman. I was like, I love The Dark Knight, right? It's a great movie. It's a different thing. That's a Tim Burton film, the Batman Forever. And it's fucking awesome. I love it. It's wild, it's chaotic, it's like a circus, it's psychedelic, it's a beautiful movie. Like, Jim Carrey, fucking Val Kilmer. Jim Carrey, I think he's a moon in Gemini. Two-Face. What's his name? I forgot his name. Fucking legendary actor. The old guy who plays Two-Face. I forgot. I can't believe I forgot his name. But very Gemini, like it's a very Gemini, Pisces, mutable square. We had Mars and Virgo at that time when that movie came. It was just like, you watch that movie and it's fucking wild. It's a wild one. It's really intense. And I really love it. But it really, I saw something pop up on Instagram and it was talking about that movie. And I was like, fuck, I love that movie. And then I went and looked at the chart of when that movie came out. I was like, fuck, that came out yesterday. And Saturn was in Pisces. It was just like, that movie kind of reflects this circusy vibe right now. So, so it is. It's all about truth and facts and where things have been unclear. That's going to be revealed before we go into this full moon in Capricorn, which is really going to bring reality into focus in a whole new way. And it's going to bring up this Pluto moving back into Capricorn. And I know I've been saying this all week, but this is the final showdown with Pluto. It's the final power grab, so to say. And I think it's really amazing that how the astrology is playing out before we move into this I think the last week of August, the first week of September is when Pluto moves back into Capricorn. I need to look at the exact date. But it's like a month before that starts to happen. We're getting these full moons of really like closing out this Pluto cycle. That's what I really feel like is these full moons are really closing out Pluto and Capricorn. Even though Pluto and Capricorn is not going to be done until January, it is going to bring up the past 14, 15 years and all the things we've been trying to build and where, we've had to really break things down. It's different for everybody, wherever it's at in your chart. But I think these full moons are some of the most important full moons of the year when it comes to the outer planets and Pluto especially. So, yeah. But in order to get to that more physical, realistic, practical Saturnian reality, we're going to have to face the delusions and the deception and, especially in the media, we're going to see a lot of shit fucking kind of smoke screening Gaslighting too. There's a lot of that going on. I mean, I know I hate to throw that word around, but it's all over. It's hard to tell what is real, what is true. These full moons are going to expose what that is. And that Mars-Uranus conjunction that's going to happen July 16th, pop. There's going to be some sort of eruption coming through July. You know, and it's going to freak people out. It's going to shock people. It could be very exciting. It could, for some people, it may be very exciting. For some people, it may be, it's Uranus and Taurus and Mars and Taurus. So it's like, fuck, like, I'm tired of having to constantly move and change and shift. And that's what this is teaching us. You know, even these mutable squares that we're going through. I got the Judgment card today. So it is. You know, there is a higher divine force that's kind of exposing the truth of the reality and saying that, you know, like, we have to balance things out. We have to weigh out, you know, the light and the dark and the good and the bad and the positive and the negative. It's like, you know, and this is a moment coming into these full moons through these mutable squares. It is like a judgment moment, you know, where the trumpets are being played of welcome to the show. Welcome to our wonderful creation of what we call 3D reality. So it is like, what side of the coin are you on? And that's kind of how I feel right now of like, okay, like there are people in Neptune land right now. There are people in Sun and Gemini land right now. And even coming through this mutable square, like people are more on the end of the moon in Sagittarius, gonna square Neptune right after the sun does. So it is like judgment is being cast and being weighed out, and things are being assessed, you know, before we move into Cancer season. So we have a better direction, a better sense of direction, intuitively and instinctually, where, you know, the water is going to flow here, you know, and how we need to kind of, you know, make adjustments in our reality, make adjustments mentally. I think too, with the Sun square Neptune, it is calling for us to really make adjustments on a level of mental health. Mental health is going to be a big deal over these next few days. We're already seeing that, you know, that whole fucking, yeah. It's just getting to a point, I think, really in July with these full moons and Mars, Uranus conjunct and Pluto coming back into Capricorn. This is a tipping point. This is a tipping point of humanity, for sure. And we look back 245, 50 years ago, the last time Pluto was here, it was the same situation. It was a tipping point of civilization, humanity, society, the structure of our reality, the institutions that were being formed at that time, the institutions that dissolved during that moment, you know. But at the same time, Neptune and Pluto are going to be sextile at 29 degrees. Neptune in its ruler, Pluto has been in Capricorn, you know, not much longer than Neptune. You know, they're 5 years apart in their cycle, roughly. Pluto moved into Capricorn in 2008. Neptune went to Pisces in 2011, then retrograded back into Aquarius, then went direct, and then was fully back into Pisces in 2012. The last time Jupiter was in Gemini. So that's what's really wild about this. And I didn't even really think about that yet, is that, wow, the last time Jupiter was in Gemini, holy fuck, the last time Jupiter was in Gemini was when Neptune was at 0 degrees of Pisces, or the early degrees. And now here we are with Jupiter and Gemini again, and Neptune's at the last degree. And the Sun in Gemini is making a square over to Neptune. That's really wild. So it is like, fuck. I can honestly say that in my own experience from 2011, 2012, because that was the kind of the spiritual awakening for me personally in my life, even though I've always been practicing astrology as a young chap, you know, which astrology came into my life as 12 years old, and it never has left me. But that was the moment when Neptune came into Pisces where my personal awakening to, yeah, the more matrix side of things on a spiritual level, and then being able to see through that veil using astrology, and which also with that program dissolving within me, helped me understand astrology even more. So, but also during that time with Neptune at the early degrees of Pisces, falling into the Neptune traps of the kind of disillusionment, feeling like not knowing what is true, what is real, and now coming to the other end of it with Jupiter and Gemini now and Neptune at the last degrees of Pisces, now here with Jupiter and Gemini. It is like, okay, now I feel like I'm able to discern. Because I'm 33, I was 19 at that time. It's fucking wild. Time is crazy. But it is like, okay, being on this spiritual journey, and being an astrologer and being a producer and running a record label and all this stuff, it's like there's a lot of fantasy involved in doing those kinds of things, especially in the music industry, and I've got to live a lot of that. But at the same time, it's like now I've been able to form a much more practical understanding of the more spiritual side of things, and I didn't know shit about business at that time. I was just in the fucking, lost in the sauce, they say. Now it's like becoming an adult, and having multiple businesses and being able to function, doing the best of the function. I work 12, 16 hours a day for better or worse, but it is like the reality of, what that really entails, not just the idealism, and I think a lot of us have gone through that too with Neptune and Pisces. Is we've gone through those idealistic states of like how we want the world to be, right? But then also going through the system and a lot of things being exposed from 2011, 2012, all the way up to now, 2024. We didn't see fucking what was going to happen in 2015, 2016. Nobody expected that. And now it's to the point of like, okay, what we thought in 2008, what we thought in 2012 and 2015 and 16, like, I would say a good chunk of that, those beliefs and those, the idealism it doesn't align anymore. It doesn't make any sense. When you look at the facts here with Jupiter and Gemini and the Sun in Gemini. So I'm going to be thinking about a lot of that over the next day or so, because even just talking about it, and I haven't even really been able to project onto that. So maybe, think about like 2008, 2012, what your beliefs are, what your beliefs were, how they've changed, where your beliefs and your fantasies and your idealism has, transformed about the world, about the reality of the world, about the physical nature of the world, about the non-physical nature of the world, your spirituality, your connection with God or source, or your divine connection. And I know a lot of us too, even in the spiritual community, or, at that time in the late 2000s coming, there was a lot of godlessness or, a lack of spirituality in, the adult, or people who are adults now. And even the Gen Z kids, it's like, they're struggling to really find what divinity is all about, right? Because they've been going through their Neptune-Pluto square, which is really insane. And you can see that with the Gen Z kids, So God bless everybody, and God bless us really coming to our senses here and reality coming into focus over these next few days, and with Saturn going retrograde and Neptune going retrograde and these full moons in Capricorn and Pluto coming back. This is when reality starts to set in, but it's also going to help us find more realistic and practical solutions, because I will say all of 2024, especially through Pisces season in March and April and May, we've been on a spiritual high, right? With Jupiter and all the amazing Jupiter aspects we went through in Taurus season, which set the groundwork for these next 6 months and 12 years, 14 years when we get to the next Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. But now we're moving into a moment where it's like we're kind of discerning and dissolving and removing the things apart about those more benefic areas of our lives that aren't really practical about what we are trying to build and what we're trying to create and what we want our reality to look like. So in the end, going through all of this circusy, chaotic, weird Neptune energy, I think finding more realistic and practical Saturnian solutions is the answer. You know, not escaping reality and drugs and alcohol and all that BS. So, I wish you all the best, and I will see you all on Friday for the solstice and the full moon in Capricorn. Peace out. Have a good one.